Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast. We start on the DXY on the weekly time frame, and we had a very strong bearish impulsive week last week, a reversal week actually. We ended almost on a full body, and we are now in decision territory basically. So that's also why we have a lot of US dollar related pairs on watch for next week. There's also a lot of news coming up because it's the first Friday in the new month, so a lot of dollar related news are expected next week, which could be the catalyst to push the dollar into either direction and start actually a new trend next week. So when we go down to the 4-hour time frame, we see not all is lost yet for the dollar. It's still in territory where it could go either way. Technically, we are trading below this previous low here, but we still have a small liquidity point here in this area, and we closed just slightly above. So if we see next week start of a bear flag continuation, something like that in this area, then we know the bearish confirmation through price action, and we would look for dollar shorts. However, as it stands right now, it's still possible for the DXY to push higher and then form something bigger like that, a bigger bullish continuation pattern, which would then be enough to push the dollar higher and above the 1.108 into new highs over the coming months. So as it stands right now, I'm starting to be neutral into next week regarding the dollar. And the other third option we see, if dollar starts bearish early next week, then we know it breaks out and starts to form some form of bearish continuation below. Then we also know we will be in for the next leg to the downside. So moving on to Euro US dollar. On the weekly time frame, of course, more or less the inverse picture. We see that we actually did tap into a higher time frame value area here to the left, and we are now starting to reverse. We do have on the higher time frame here, we are on the daily, a liquidity area to consider, which is also just below this previous low here. And as long as we are trading below this area, I'm still more biased to Euro US dollar short. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, we do see we had multiple options before for potential shorts. So we had this structure here, which is also the start of the last previous impulsive leg to the downside, which then eventually took out this value area here, and price failed to consolidate below and continued to sell off. Instead, it moved back up. We had some options for shorts in this area, but then again price failed to follow through. Instead is starting now to creep back up into this area here, this liquidity point. And as I mentioned before, as long as we are trading below this level here, I'm more leaning towards a short. However, as soon as we break above and starting to form a bullish continuation, then I will switch my bias. On the lower time frame, there might be a potential for a short-term long just to finish this structure. So I'm going here straight down to the 5 minutes. I already know that will not be a trade for me because this would be a trade during Asia session. If at all, we do have a small liquidity point here, and if we get something like that, a very deliberate bull flag continuation during Asia session after market opening on the lower time frame, then there would be a case for a potential short-term long into this liquidity area here to then finish on the 15 minutes, let's see here, to then finish this 1, 2, 3 into this liquidity point before we then potentially sell off, or as we said before, break out and consolidate outside, depending on the DXY. Australia dollar, US dollar, starting on the weekly time frame as well. We have a bearish candle here, but we ended on a very, very bullish wick. So it's a bit indecisive and neutral price action. However, we are still trading in an area where it would make sense for price to actually go and fill this low one more time, fill the wick here, and have one more leg to the downside. So I'm here leaning more to a bearish continuation, and that would be a higher time frame play. So I'm here on the 4-hour time frame, and we see we get some structure. So we have the first base here, a second base, we have 1, 2, and a potential third touch here. So if price is continuing to creep up into this area here and giving me a 3-touch continuation pattern, retesting one of these areas here, then I'm willing to enter a short in this area on a more weighted time frame, so such as a 4-hour or even a daily time frame. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. On the weekly time frame, again, we start here. We see we have a very bullish weekly candle ended on a wick. It looks a bit different because New Zealand dollar is positioned slightly different to Australia dollar, US dollar. We are here actually coming from an area where we have a triple bottom here. So we still have a gap to the downside, so it could go either way, but for now it looks like we have a little bit more bullish momentum, and it is more bullish confirmed. So going down to the 4-hour time frame, so we still have, actually we can see we are trading above this previous inflection point, this area of interest here to the left. We still have a case for this kind of expanding structure into this liquidity point, so we are still trading below, so the long is not yet confirmed. However, we still have enough room, so I'm not looking for a short in this area here. I would look for a short when we reach this level, and depending on how the DXY is looking at that time. So for now there might be a case for a long. So if I get a deliberate price action pattern going into this liquidity point here on the lower time frame, we are here on the 1-hour time frame, then I would consider entering a long in this area just to at least finish the last leg into this liquidity point, which is more than enough room to manage a trade. And if it's the trade who breaks out, then we are already in the trade, and then there is much more room to the upside. So pound US dollar on the weekly time frame, very similar, also a bit better positioned. So we are here better positioned for a reversal play. My bias here is clearly on the long right now. Going down to the 4-hour time frame already, we see we had multiple options for price to sell off. We were trading below this area of interest to the left. We had some structure here, retesting, selling off, but then price failed to form a continuation. We even had a bigger bear flag continuation, and price again failed to sell off in this area. Instead, it creeped back up, and we had a very nice reversal candle here. We are on the 4-hour time frame into this liquidity area here, and then again price failed to sell off. So it had multiple chances to sell off, and it always failed, and we still are in a kind of start. It could be the start of a momentum run to the upside. So we do have still, like in all the other pairs, we have an area which did not yet break, and it's not 100% confirmed for a long play. Nothing is 100% in trading anyway. So but going down to the 15-minute time frame for this case, we do have also here on the lower time frame a potential case for at least a short-term long. We have a small liquidity area here that could be the first base or the first top, and then if price is forming a deliberate bull flag continuation, I would consider early morning. That would be a shortly before London session, a long play to manage the trade at least into this liquidity area. And if it then goes, we are already in the trade for a much bigger move. US dollar Swiss francs. on the weekly time frame, we have this on watch for a while. We were looking last week already for a bullish continuation, right? So something like that on the lower time frame, of course, and we see here we are in reversal territory. We have, it could be the start of a bearish move. However, we see that we are, like the DXY, really on the brink of the decision. So we were looking for this base here as the potential third touch for a bullish continuation. So price failed to break through. Price also failed to, after this rejection here, failed to follow through to the upside. So we are now, we see that price is losing momentum and is like slowly creeping towards this area, this liquidity area here. So yeah, we are in the area for the next bigger move. So at the moment, as long as we are trading above, I'm still more biased to a potential long. So if we see something like that early next week and then bullish continuation, I'm definitely taking a long in this area. And on the other hand, if we see early next week price breaking below this level and then showing some bear flag continuation, then yeah, we know, we see the signs from the market and we will switch our bias and look for potential shorts. Pound Australian dollar, again, starting on the weekly, we are a bit in no man's land right now, but we ended on a very strong bullish weekly candle with, again, almost full body, fully retracing the previous bearish week. Going down straight to the 4-hour time frame, we do have, or actually we had this liquidity point here, and I was initially looking for a V-shaped recovery for then a continuation short. However, that did not happen. We do have still another small area here, which is just outside the previous consolidation before the next move to the downside, and I'm looking right now for a bullish continuation. So ideally we see that this area here is becoming the base. We have a small gap here, and if price is closing this gap and showing some reversal candlestick pattern, at least on the 1-hour time frame, better on the 4-hour time frame, more weighted in this area of interest, then I'm more than happy to take a trade for next leg up. Then the yen pairs. The yen pairs are starting to get some momentum. We are looking on the yen pairs for a very long time already, and when they start moving, they move. We had a long consolidation here, and now the first very, very strong bearish week. We see on the 4-hour time frame that we closed really outside this longer consolidation. We had this corrective phase here, a long consolidation, and then started to finally break out. We identified this area here as an area of interest for a potential long. However, there we see on this area we had this bearish continuation. We see it more clear on the daily time, on the 1-hour time frame. Let me shortly clean that up a bit, and we are now trading below, right? So it looks like the yen pairs could be in for a slightly bigger reversal or for a bigger consolidation before we move further down. However, it's not necessary for price in the Australian dollar yen pairs to go back up. So we are already trading below this low here as well. And so if I get something like that, a slightly expanding structure, then I would look for a bearish continuation in this area. Pound yen. On the weekly time frame, very similar. Pound is also coming from an area we were already identifying weeks ago and is now starting to really gain momentum. Last week was also slightly indecisive, and we are now fully in full bearish momentum. Going to the 1-hour time frame, we identified here a small liquidity area, which is also more or less aligning with this previous small low. Here we are still trading below this area of interest, and we left a gap towards this small liquidity point. So ideally, we see price recovering and tapping into this liquidity area, closing the gap. And then I'm looking for shorts in this area. If we get this kind of recovery, then we can expect a bigger recovery in the other yen pairs as well. So yeah, we will see. We will take the best entry. Swiss francs, yen, very similar. We do have room to the downside, just to the next value area to the left, and we are in a momentum run. We have quite a few weeks in bearish momentum already, going down to the 1 hour time frame. We are trading below the previously identified area of interest. We do have a small area of interest which price could actually come back, but we see we are in a big momentum run, so it would be nice to see a bigger recovery and basically retesting this area. This is not a retest. This is like on the higher time frame, you can barely see that, so that's not a retest at all. If we get a retest or a V-shaped recovery here, that would be much better, and then entering a potential short here, which is then retesting this area of interest. However, if we are in such a momentum run, price is not necessarily moving that far up, and looking at that, if price is just starting to drop or continuing to drop early next week, and then we get a smaller bear flag continuation into this area here, then I'm also okay to enter a short in that area. Then New Zealand dollar CAD on the weekly time frame. We see that we also had this gap to the previous low, but we also left the gap to the one before. So we are still in a trending up, kind of an uptrend channel here, and we have a very bullish momentum candle last week. So I'm more inclined right now to look for bullish continuations. Going straight to the 1 hour time frame, I did actually try to trade short in New Zealand dollar CAD last week. Going back to the 4 hour, I will show you that here. I was looking for this candle here. Actually, I had a short running here, which ended up to be a break even then, because we had this expanding structure. We had the gap to the low. We filled this gap here into this liquidity area and had nice reversal patterns. However, price failed to sell off in this area, and then instead even made a new high. And we are now trading basically through price. So with the momentum we have right now, I'm looking more here on the 1 hour time frame. We have this small liquidity point, and I'm looking more for a bullish continuation. So if this is the first base, ideally we see a 3-touch continuation into this liquidity area, and then I'm looking for a long play in this area. So that's it for the watch list. That's my watch list for next week. Thanks for watching, and see you next week. Bye bye.